Mr. B. Oh, Mr. B. I have something to tell you. The sheriff came to my house and served me an order to surrender my firearms. Mr. B, I'll say that again. The sheriff has come to my house and has served me a petition from the district attorney's office himself or herself saying I need to turn my guns in or the cops are going to come here in 2-3 days and kick in my door and take my guns. Well, welcome back, everyone, to Mr. B's podcast. I'm Mr. B, and that is exactly what the hell we are going to talk about today, right? We are going to talk about petitions to revoke firearm licenses in the state of New York, right? That's what we're going to talk about, right? So let's think about it for a second. A petition, what does that mean? That means somebody has went to the court and they are asking the court to take away something or do something as it relates to firearm, pistol permit, and gun licensing, right? They went to the court and said, hey, look, we think such and such did something that they shouldn't have done, or they lack the mental capacity to be in possession of such. Therefore, judge, we're asking that you revoke their pistol permit, right? That's what it means, right? The police can go and do it. The district attorney can go and do it. And also, if you're a cunning lawyer or civilian, you may be able to petition the court to revoke somebody's handgun license, assault weapons license, and their and summarily their ability to possess firearms, right? So let's do some story. I love story time, right? I could tell stories, but true stories, right? So let's make up a story here, right? So John Doe, I'm sorry to beat on you, John Doe, but hey, it is what it is, my friend. At any rate, so John Doe, let's do two examples, right? So John Doe was arrested in 1995, right? In 1995, John Doe was arrested for smacking his girlfriend, right? And so here it is now, 2025, many of years later, the district attorney, to get his cases up, right? Maybe the district attorney wants to run for county executive. Maybe it's an assistant district attorney who's trying to make a name for him or herself. They want to get their case numbers up, right? So this new assistant district attorney gets in and says, hey, look at this. John Doe, he got arrested over 25, 30 years ago. Nobody did anything about it. I'm going to try it in court. I'm going to submit a petition to revoke his pistol permit licenses, even though I know that his case got dismissed and or sealed 20, 30 years ago. It doesn't matter. I'm the law around here. I'm going to submit a petition to revoke it, right? So he goes to the court, he fills out the paperwork, types it up, he's supposed to do his investigation, but sometimes they don't. So at any rate, get all the information, the supporting documentation, he attaches it to the petition, gets it over to the judge. Now, don't beat up on the judge, you guys, right? The judge, it's their job not to take sides at all, right? The judge is just the person to decide, preside over the matter. Give me 1 second here, since we seem to have lost my pretty face. Stand by one. Let me do a cheese. Beautiful, everyone, right? So let's not lose our train of thought. Let's not lose our momentum here, because it's such an interesting topic. So at any rate, so don't beat up on the judge, right? The judge's job is just to preside and decide over the matter, right? The judge gives the opportunity for you to speak and the district attorney to make their case against you, right? So the judge will say, all right, I'm going to sign off on this if it makes sense. District attorney will get a copy the local pistol permit licensing authority, which is the sheriff's department. The sheriffs will get a, excuse me, my indigestion's acting up. The sheriff will get a copy, and then their civil unit will be tasked with tracking you down and basically serving you with a petition to revoke your pistol permit licenses, right? The document will say, look, the district attorney says that they believe that you did something wrong and or that you no longer lack the capability to possess a dangerous instrument, right? Or we don't believe you have the maturity or the temperament, right? That's what they like to use, is the word temperament, right? Meanwhile, none of these people are licensed healthcare providers. None of these people are mental health professionals. So how could you sit up here and really slander somebody and say that they lack the temperament and blah, 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 blah to make your case, right? As a district attorney, it's your job to present a case and show that these individuals are a threat to self and others, right? If you can't do that, your case is done and gone, right? If you can't set a chronological timeline of events to convince a court that such and such person is mentally unstable and or even physically disabled, and that they cannot no longer safely possess a gun without posing a risk to themselves or other, your case is gone. So at any rate, what's going to happen, right? Read your damn letter. The letter may say, hey, look, you have 3 days, you have 7 days, or you have 1 day, or you have 24 hours. It depends on whatever the sheriff says, right? You have that amount of time to turn in your firearms, right? Now, people will go, wait a second, is it just my permitted firearms, or is it all of my firearms, right? Because in this state of New York, you need a permit to have what? Handgun and assault, any weapon that's categorized as assault rifle, right? AR-15 with, I think, two or three more military style features, right? You need a permit for. So a lot of people will say, hey, look, I think it's only my permitted guns. Let me tell you something. If you get a petition to revoke and an order to surrender, and you just turn in your permitted guns, guys, I'm not bullshitting you right now. The government knows what you already have. If you have shotguns that aren't permitted, if you have, muskets and flintlocks and all this other stuff that a NICS was ran, right? National Instant Crime. Just think of it as a instant background check was done, right? People are going to see that you were ran to purchase handguns, right? People are going to see guns that you purchased from the FFL, right? So they're going to know what you have. Now, if you try to play the game and say, well, I'm only turning in my permitted firearms, I'm not turning in shotguns and and crossbows because you don't need a pistol, you don't need a permit for that, guys, you're going to get in trouble. It's intentionally left vague, saying your firearms. Let's break that down. Firearms. It does not, your petition to surrender may not say, your petition to revoke an order to surrender or interim order or whatever the hell it's called, it may say to surrender your firearms or all firearms in your possession that you have control of or you have interest to, right? So here's the thing. Here is the screwed up thing. If you owned a firearms company, right? If you owned a shooting range that has guns that are owned by the shooting range, or you have a firearms training school, or you have a security company with custodial carry, right? Meaning that you own, the security company gives out the guns to the armed guards, right? But they're registered to the company. So that means you have an interest, vested interest in those firearms. You own those firearms, right? So now if you get this petition to revoke an order to suspend, which will go in as like interim order, that's what it'll say on it, right? All of the guns that you have interest to, you have access to need to be surrendered. I'm not bullshitting you. All of them. It will not say permitted only firearms, right? Because you have a district attorney, or whether it's the police, whoever submitted the petition is saying that, and plainly is saying that you're crazy and you might kill yourself and you might kill somebody else. So you think, if they think you're crazy like that, they're going to let you hold on to not permitted firearms, meaning shotguns, crossbows, blah, 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 muskets, things like that? No. They want everything, every single thing that you got, right? Turn them in, Mr. and Mrs. America, right? Who said that, right? The Congress. Oh, God rest her soul. We shouldn't go there. I'm sorry. I take that back. No joking. So at any rate, so what's going to happen, right? Here's your options. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Check with a lawyer. But when it comes to surrendering your guns, you cannot just turn them to a friend now. No, you cannot. You cannot. You have to follow what the order says. It will say, turn it into the sheriff's department or whatever law enforcement authority, right? You can call up the sheriff's department and be like, hey, look, my name is such and such, and I got this order here, and I would like to turn my guns into this FFL. Sheriff department will go, if they're cool, they say, hey, that's fine. Just get a receipt showing that they have all of your firearms now, right? And you hold on to that, blah, 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 blah. You can prove that the FFL has all your guns, right? Now, if you turn your stuff into the sheriff's department, police department, right? I'm not knocking them. They're all great guys and girls. And a lot of people, they're a little sketch about turning their guns into the police because they may never get them back or in a timely manner. I could tell you, people aren't out to get you like that unless you're a dick. Unless you're going in there being a douchebag and a dick. Let me tell you something. If you want to play games, they could play games too, right? So, and I'm not saying people do corrupt things like that, and but hey, look, don't play games. So at any rate, you can turn it into the sheriff's department. They'll give you a receipt, right? If you go to the sheriff's department or even the FFL, make sure that all of the firearms are clear, right? They're not going to take ammo. They won't take ammo in. They're not going to take the magazines either, right? So make sure all of your guns are clear. You got like a breech lock, or they're all in cases that are zip tied or padlocked. Blah, blah. I mean, they're still going to open them because they have to put them in evidence. But make sure that everything is safe and secure. You don't want to go into the sheriff's department with a round in the chamber, right? And you don't want to be traveling with rounds in the chamber, right? You don't want to be traveling with the chamber. It's just unsafe to do unless you're concealed carrying, right? So at any rate, well, you won't be anymore once you leave the sheriff's department. You'll be walking around like you're completely naked, not knowing what to do with yourself, because you carried a gun for 30, 40 years, 20 years, 15 years, and now, you're used to going out of the house with a gun on, and now you don't have a gun. Let me tell you something. You're going to feel vulnerable. You're going to feel stripped of your manhood. And you're just going to feel unsafe, right? You're going to be walking around with pepper spray. That's about all you're going to have, right? So at any rate, you turn your stuff in. They give you coupons, blah, blah, blah. You wait till your court date, right? Now, I'm going to give you some pro tips, right? While you're waiting for your court date, you need to do some investigating and some digging to find out what possibly the district attorney is in possession of, or the law enforcement who submitted the request to revoke your stuff. You need to do some digging if they don't list the reason why in the petition, which they have to find out what the hell is going on. Even if it was 20, 25, 35 years ago, 40 years ago, you need to dig deep back in time, do some record checks, do some FOIL to find out what the hell is on your record that they may be going after, right? So sometimes it'll be completely vague, right? So anybody in law enforcement, district attorney can submit these papers, these petitions to revoke based on a number of things, right? So if you had an interaction with law enforcement, and I'm just making stories, if you had an interaction with law enforcement whether it be recently, 10 years ago, right, 3, which is really unreasonable, right? Because you can't say somebody's a risk to self and others based on something that happened 10 years ago. How can you fast forward 10 years in the future and now you're saying, okay, for a 10-year period, we allowed John Doe to be in possession of a firearm for 10 years, but nowhere during that time did we feel that he was a threat. And there's nothing currently presenting that shows that he's a threat. What sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense at all. So at any rate, I don't want to get off on a tangent, So at any rate, you need to do some digging, find out what's going on, look into it, see what's going on. Then you got to get ready for court, right? You got to get ready for court, right? And here's something that's going to happen in court, right? So if we circle back to what I said earlier, the district attorney, the police, and the judge aren't licensed mental health care providers, right? They are going to send you for a psych exam, right? The court is going to send you for a psych exam at your expense, mind you, which is not really a lot. It's like anywhere between $500-$1,200, right? But if you want to get a forensic exam, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. Listen, if you go somewhere and they say you need a forensic exam, right, for firearms, run the other direction because they're going to charge you like $6,000-$7,000 to do a forensic exam. But it's two different things, right? Don't get it confused, right? A forensic mental evaluation is like a study of your brain where they get in and they see what your triggers are and this and that and this and that. And those take months, by the way, opposed to just getting a regular mental health exam. I'm not talking about a wellness screening. I'm talking about going to a licensed healthcare provider, sitting down with them, right? And they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, right? And it's your job to be forthcoming because they're going to know that you're either lying or you're concealing stuff or you're being what's the word I'm looking for? You're being confrontational or you're holding stuff. So anyway, the court is going to send you to go get this evaluation. So what I would tell people is if you know that this is going to happen, if the judge is going to order you to get a mental health psychiatric evaluation, why don't you get a jump start on it now and try to cut down on the amount of time that it's going to take for you to get your guns back if you get them back? So within a reasonable amount of time before the court date, you should go find a licensed mental health provider, well, whether it's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a counselor, and then it branches off to all the other acronyms and abbreviations, things like that. Just find somebody, right? Look them up, make sure that they're licensed, go pay for the exam, get it done, right? It's not going to be just one visit, by the way, people. You're going to need multiple visits for them really they're going to pick into your brain and see what's going on because it's their job to determine if you are a risk to yourself or others, right? They're also going to do multiple drug tests on you, right? And I shouldn't even tell you people this. I mean, I don't do drugs, right? Last time I had something to drink was like 3-4 years ago. Well, alcohol. But, but at any rate, stop getting up into my business, you understand? So at any rate, they're going to do alcohol testing. They're going to want to know how often you drink. They're going to obviously test your piss, right? You're going to have to piss 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times because they want to see, right? They know that you're showing up for your first exam, so you might be clean on your first exam. But then they want to play a little game with you and let time go by to see if you do take something because it will show up days later, right? So they're going to do drug testing on you, right? And then at the end of it, they're going to decide if you're a risk to yourself and others, right? And they might not tell you. They might not even give you the report. They'll say, hey, tell me the judge that you want me to send this to, I'll send the report directly to the judge, right? Because if that happens, it means that they have some bad information that they're about to tell the judge, and you probably never get your guns back, right? So that's what happens. So then you go to court. Let me tell you something. Just don't show up to court like wearing street clothes and not shaven and not cleaned and not articulate and not, not looking like you're there for court, but you're looking like you're there for a rock concert. Don't do that, right? You want to show up in something nice. I'm not saying you have to wear a suit, but you should look the part. You should look good, right, to represent yourself. Because if you're police, fire, EMS, armed security, military, whatever that involves a firearm, right, we're talking about your livelihood, right, your ability to make money with that firearm, right? So you need to show up looking good, right? And obviously don't lose your damn cool, because they're trying to say you always lose your cool. And now, how would it look if you get up there in court and you lose your cool, and then the judge goes, "Oh, well, I guess the district attorney was right. I'm upholding the revocation." Now your ass is screwed, right? So, but if you do have like issues with temper and all that other stuff and jealousy, and you really should go get some additional help, right? Because, not to go off on mental health awareness tangent, but a lot of people suffer in silence, right? And they feel like people don't understand them. But I can tell you right now, if you do have mental health issues, just go out, get an exam, get treatment if you needed it, because it will help you, right? And like I said, people suffer in silence, or they just don't understand what's going on with them, or they might feel like, oh, if it's a man, oh, I'm less of a man if I talk to somebody about my problems. Let me tell you something. That's bullshit. Total bullshit. That's toxic masculinity that's got you in that situation to feel that way, right? Go get the help it's the same way with suicide, if we think about it. People are afraid to talk about their situation, right? They feel people can't relate to them. People won't understand this and that. I mean, there's so many alternatives to suicide, killing people, suffering in silence, right? It might not be repaired in the first 2, 3, 4 visits or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But eventually, as you keep up on it, you will be repaired and restored, and you will feel a lot better with yourself, right? We've all been to that dark side before, and if you haven't, you're either lying, or you will hit a wall, and it will hit you like a brick wall, right, eventually. So not to scare anyone, but it's just part of life. We're all human beings, right? But you have to be willing to reach out and get some help, right? Because that's what people are trained to do, and this and that. And now a flip side of it is, if you're armed security, military, police, corrections, whatever that involves a gun for your work, you think, hey, look, if I go get mental health treatment, they're automatically going to take my guns. That's not true. That's not true at all. And then they think, oh, if I go get mental health treatment, I have to put down on my pistol permit or renewal form that I was gotten treatment, blah, 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 blah. No, that's not true, because if you read the forms, it says, were you involuntarily committed to a mental health institute? Involuntarily meaning that somebody sent your ass there and made you go there, opposed to voluntarily, okay, I voluntarily went to I was having some problems with the divorce, lost job, blah, 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 whatever. Okay, boom, good. Now, can those records still be found? Yes, if you sign a HIPAA release, mental health release, it could be found. I mean, it is just what it is. But the mere fact that you went to go get help, right? Guys, think about this for a second, right? Can somebody fault you for getting help? I'll say that again. Can or will somebody fault you for you taking the initiative to go get help, realizing that there is a problem, and that you want help, and that you're actively engaged in seeking the help, right? Nobody can fault you for that. You're doing an honorable, good thing by trying to go get treatment. So why should that be held against you? It won't, right? So at any rate, we got off on a huge tangent here. So now back to court. So the judge is there. You're looking good. You're smelling good. You're talking good. You went. You got your own exam, which this person is going to request anyway. And they may go, oh, that's great. But hey, look, I need more time to review the matter, right? And so you may have to wait another month or two. In that time, just hump it out. That's all you can do, right? Don't get yourself all upset and crazy, because that's what the other side probably would want. And just roll with it, right? So what'll happen is, it might be a couple court dates, and you just show up for your court dates. Don't miss a court date, because let me tell you something. If you miss a court date, that might be the day that the judge was going to read their decision, and now you didn't show up. It doesn't look good for you, because the judge may say, well, let's revoke their stuff because they didn't show up, and they're not responsible enough to show up for one of the most important court days of their life, right? So you want to show up. So at any rate, if the judge determines that you do not pose a risk to yourself, you do not pose a risk to others, and that you possess the proper temperament, control over yourself, you will get your guns back. You will get your guns back, right? And I'm not saying they're going to bring the guns out the damn back room, because they're not, because your guns are locked up at either the FFL or at the sheriff's department, right? So once a judge says, I'm going to deny the district attorney's their petition to revoke your license, and I'm immediately ordering the release of surrendered firearms, the judge will say, okay, I'll mail you such and such in the mail. At the same time, I'm going to send to the sheriff's department a release. But the release cannot be sent to the sheriff's department yet until the district attorney signs off on it, right? So thereafter, they'll send the crap to the sheriff's department or local police, whoever's got your guns, or to you if you put them to an FFL. They'll send it to the FFL, and then you can go pick your stuff up, right? But you don't want to ever go through something like that ever again, because it's not fun. Even if you did something 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, it still is there, and it still could be used against you for whatever reasons, right? Let's be real, whether it's politically motivated or maybe you really did something crazy and you don't need a gun, right? So I will say there's people out there right now that I would like to submit a petition to revoke, but I have no evidence other than my personal opinion of them based on the way that they've conducted themselves, but it won't hold water in no court. So that's what happens, right? So let's circle back to the mental health part, because it's very important, and I'm very involved in that type of situation, that type of issue around the world. But guys, listen, don't suffer in silence. If you got something going on, if you're feeling homicidal, if you're feeling suicidal, get yourself some help. Remove yourself from the situation. I'm not saying kill yourself. Remove yourself, take a step back from whatever the trigger is, whatever the stressors are, and go get the help, right? So there are so many ways. I mean, there's county programs, there's local programs, there's online programs, you can even text, right? If we talk about local counties like Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, Dutchess, they all have helplines where you can actually just text somebody and talk to them, and they'll sit there and have a full conversation about anything with you, right? As long as it's not sexual stuff, because then the police will be knocking at your door if you try to, send some nudie pictures or something. Anyway, let's not go that direction. But at any rate, there's so much help out there. You just have to get it or know that it exists, right? And there's always people willing to help you. And if people say, well, Mr. B, you don't understand. You never been. Excuse me. You don't know a damn thing about what I've been to hell and back again, then back to hell, and then back again. So I think I know what I'm talking about. Thank you so much. But at any rate, there's just help out there. You have to get it. Listen, again, you have to go out and get the help. The help may not find you, or the help may find you, but it may be in a form that you do not want, such as police kicking your door in and them taking you to a psych center or a treatment facility, blah, blah, blah. So you don't want that to happen. So find it deep down in yourself to want to get help before you do anything rash to yourself or others. Because let me tell you, it's really not worth it. Like, if we talk about suicide, right? A lot of the patients that I've seen or people that I dealt with in like public setting, public safety for my jobs, because I did a lot over the years, and we're not going to get into it right now. But anyway, most of these people were hurting emotionally, right? They were hurting emotionally. They felt like nobody was listening. Nobody could relate to them. And they just all of them wanted the pain and suffering that they were feeling to stop, right? So the people who attempted to commit suicide, I'm talking about, the people who wanted to die thinking that would fix all their problems. But, oh my goodness, like problems, right? So if we're talking about suicide, you're talking about a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Let me say that again. A permanent solution, ending your life, to a temporary problem, getting over your current stressors, right? It doesn't make sense, right? And I understand what the people go through. I truly understand what the people go through. And, in some other cases, it's like, well, I just want people to be sad, and I just want people to feel it. And excuse me, we're human beings, right? Yeah, you killing yourself is going to make people upset. But do you realize that people are going to forget? People are going to forget, bro, right? They're not going to sit home all damn day for 50 years crying about you killing yourself. No, they're probably going to forget in the first six months to a year. And they're going to move on with their lives, because that's what people do, right? So now you killed yourself. Again, permanent solution to a temporary problem, opposed to you going out and getting the damn help and you being healed and better than you ever. Don't you think if people were after you, or people hated you, or whatever, don't you think the ultimate payback and revenge would be you in a more stable, better sense of yourself, right? How would you think they would feel seeing you, that they did not break you, right? How wouldn't that be much better of being a better person and stronger? You overcame their harassment or whatever they did to you. Don't you think it would be the ultimate payback of them seeing you now better than ever, knowing that they did not break you, right? Think about it, guys. Oh my goodness, I'm going over my time here. So now you see, I guess going off on a damn tangent here. And, I feel a certain way about the topics. So, I didn't realize we were going so long. But at any rate, that's going to be it for today before the damn screen cuts off again. And just remember, right, don't suffer in silence. Reach out to people, talk to people, right? If you want to talk to me, hell, talk to me. Come on the damn show. We'll talk, right? So, again, take care of yourselves. Be well. Don't do anything that I wouldn't do. And until next time, I will see you later.